Pixels Online, a game on Ronin Network, just hit almost 1 million DAU back in April 21st, 2024. Today, I got the co-founder of the Ronin Network himself, Jihoz, to go ahead and talk about how he's done it once again. Because they created Axie Infinity, they started to play to earn revolution, and once again, it seems like play to earn as a narrative is winning. I got him on an AMA to go ahead, break it down for you, the alpha in between in the crypto gaming space right now, and talking a little bit about the latest launches. So the big news on the street is that Pixels has finally hit 1 million DAU. And I don't know about you, but like people look at crypto gaming, they're like, this is in the back burner, nobody cares. But still, on Ronin, Pixels is growing. So how is this happening during a time where people are just not looking into crypto gaming?
Well, we've done something different, right? We've actually been able to onboard a segment of players in places like the Philippines, Indonesia, Brazil, that they're not like connected to the whole crypto Twitter meta, right? Teams always talk about how they want to onboard net new people to the space. And I believe that's actually what's happening with Ronin, with Pixels, right? Is we're actually able to get the friends, the family members of people that are part of our movement, right? They're actually able, there are people literally, we've surveyed, there are people who play Pixels and don't know what blockchain is, and they don't know what the Ronin network is, right?
What are like the percentages on that?
It's like 10% of the people.
Really?
In Daryl is a Filipino, threader, right?
Okay.
And he makes a lot of content on Facebook. And he told me, yeah, he did a survey, and 10% of the people in his Facebook groups were playing Pixels, right? Withdrawing to Gcash, and had no idea that they were even using crypto or what crypto was. So there's something really interesting happening here. At the same time, right, it's like, in terms of the rest of the space is that they're obsessed with Bitcoin ETF, meme coin season. That's okay, right? I mean, there were literally parts of last cycle that were like that too. So everything is cyclical. I think when gaming doesn't have the spotlight, that actually allows for teams, right, to consolidate, to come up, right, to do some thinking, and to come up with ways to basically, steal the attention and spotlight back.
Yeah, that makes sense. And word on the street is that you're just a little bit selective on the process of getting games on there. I remember, maybe it was like 2 months ago, that you'd cut off a couple of those games that we're going to build on Ronin. What changed from when you onboarded these games until now in the current climate?
Well, the way that we onboard teams right now, is that we provide a lot of support, right? We provide from like advice on tokenomics to go to market, right? How to talk to our community, helping them run campaigns with Moku and the creator program, right? So there's a lot of like kind of manual effort and work that goes into making sure that these teams have the best chance of success. And sometimes that means right now, like, limiting the scope of our focus, right? Making sure that we're really dedicated to the teams that we feel like have what it takes to win. So yeah, there are teams where they come on, for whatever reason, they aren't able to have the success that we imagined, that they imagined. And then, right, it's kind of like, in these cases, usually like a mutual decision for them to move elsewhere and to see if they can make it somewhere else.
And so would you kind of consider it like you help them with publishing in a way where like we're giving you advice on how the hell you should be doing this in the first place, like kind of like how Delphi did with you guys, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like the first Web3 gaming publishing model, for sure.
Not the first time I've heard of it. There's a couple others, but they've done different approaches. They've been like, yo, we're gonna get 300 games from Web 2, and then we're gonna give them grants if they hit these specific metrics. And then I'm like, well, I mean, I guess you could shoot your shot. And, some of them I'm sure will be successful. But do you think those approaches will work long term in our space? Just trying to find as many games from the traditional sector versus what you're doing right now? Or do you think your approach long term wins? Just honing in on very specific games.
I may say something controversial. I believe that our approach can only win in the beginning. Right. So in the beginning, you need like a more of a white glove, like focused approach, because you're doing something that's new, right? It's a new technology, new distribution mechanics. And it requires like a lot of kind of white glove integrated work. However, in the long run, right, more open models, right, where there are more games will likely have a bunch of advantages. So that's also our plan, right, is we're going to start integrated, start with, right, very select teams. And then, right, as we learn more and understand how to scale this up, what are like the basic principles of Web3 gaming that, right, apply to most teams, right? You're basically going to find these like building blocks that allow you to, right, scale the support to more and more teams. So that's one of the things that we're working on, right? Is like, what does it mean for Ronin to become more open, to become permissionless, to have more teams, you know, deploying? So that's one of the things that we're actively building towards. We don't want this, right, like very selective onboarding phase to be forever.
So more developer tools, my friends. I saw this meme and it was from this game called The Wanderers, where some dude had taken a shot and then it minted a transaction on chain. And then I'm like, is there going to be a world? Because I know there's a game out there that does this. It's called Pirate Nation. I think it's through like Sequence or something like that, where you click button and then it mints it on chain. And I've also seen people like 𝐕𝐢𝐝, he complains online where he's like, I wish these Web3 tournaments actually minted the results on chain so I could flex with people. Are people going to be sponsoring? Is that tech stack, is all that going to be available at some point? Or is it always going to be like, I have to go on my Ronin wallet and I have to click to buy this thing on the 𝐂𝐫𝐲𝐻 marketplace? Or like you said, in permissionless, like people are just going to be doing it all over the place?
Well, they're kind of like, they're a lot of questions, I guess, or a lot of topics bundled into what you just said. And so, right, one is like, I guess like wallet tooling and like basically how much the user experience of putting more transactions on chain. And so there are things actually called like MPC wallets, which basically allow you to have like these on-chain transactions that you don't need to basically, right, like have like that invasive of a user experience for. So I think that, yeah, basically wallet technology will progress to basically make it easier to have like these in-game marketplaces, right? So right now the standard is to have like a game and then you have like the marketplace outside of the game. But actually in the future with things like MPC wallets, you'll actually have the ability to have like these marketplaces, right, just built directly into the game, right? So you can think about like the Grand Exchange from RuneScape, right? And having like an on-chain Grand Exchange that's built directly into the game, that will open up in the next 18 to 24 months. And so that's something that I would keep an eye out on Ronin for. That's something that we want to actually be an innovator with. So yeah, I would definitely check that out or keep an eye out for things like that. You know, when it comes to actually putting every single little thing on the blockchain, this is something that, you know, we have the experience, right? That's why teams want to work with us because a lot of the mistakes that people will make, we've already made before, right? So we can kind of say, hey, don't do that. We already tried it. It didn't work for whatever reason, right? I mean, for us, we actually thought that, hey, in the beginning in 2018, oh, maybe our players will want every single Axie battle recorded on chain. So we actually built the first version of Axie battles to do that. It didn't work. It was like a horrible user experience and people were begging us to just compute it on the server. Like, we trust you enough, like just put it on the server, right? So, you know, I do think that part of the product decision in this space, or the product decisions that are important in this space, is like, what are you actually tokenizing? What are you actually storing on chain? And what are you not? And because it's actually very lazy to just say, hey, we're going to put everything on chain, right? That sounds like that's like a very like black and white kind of thing. And that doesn't actually involve like much thought, right? I do think that, I mean, I really actually think that Pirate Nation is really cool.
I love Pirate Nation.
Yeah, so I do think that, right, like these fully on-chain games, they will have like a niche and a role to play, especially as, you know, wallet user experience gets better. That's kind of like part of the point that I was making, is that as the technology gets better, it will like be possible to have more seamless, I guess, like posting of like data and transactions to the chain from directly within the game without having to have like a super invasive experience.
Yeah, we're not there yet is the answer essentially, but we're getting there. 18 to 24 months is the metric. Okay, cool. So I know that Apron had a bit of an airdrop. I don't think the token's launched yet. I also know that there's a couple other games that are kind of coming up with their TGEs, which is when their tokens launch. And I know that Pixels had a token launch, which for the first time, I think, in gaming history, has actually had the number of people playing go up instead of down. This is like breaking news here for the entire space. I am very much of the mindset of crypto gaming. It's not going to make it this year. The users are coming next year. You guys clearly are in a totally different mindset. You're just total growth mode. But the thing is, everybody's struggling right now because they have these airdrops. Their DAUs drop off right after, and they just don't seem to recover. So what do you think about this current meta right now of all these super low float tokens, like 1 to 6% of their supply comes out of there?
I hate it. So I think this is why meme coins are doing well, is because people are afraid of teams that are TGEs that are, kind of predatory to the people who are actually buying the token on the open market. So I believe that, with games and with basically utility tokens, there will be a trend of starting with a much higher float, a much higher percentage of the circulating supply live at TGE. I do believe that the sexes have a role to play in this, right? Where they're basically negotiating, and their incentive is not really, 100% aligned with the communities, where they're kind of encouraging the teams, right, to start with a lower float and a higher FTV. That benefits the exchanges. Why? Because the exchanges are taking a percentage of the token supply as payment for the listing, right? So, but yeah, I think that will be disrupted. I hope that the Ronin games and teams will be part of that mindset shift from teams, and I feel optimistic on it. What will that mean? I think that will mean more aggressive play to airdrop, where you're giving out even more of the initial circulating supply to the community. I think teams that do that, right, will stand to be seen as very generous and to create stronger communities. And then, right, like, so why is Pixels continuing to grow after the play to airdrop? Is because, well, now they have like perpetual play to airdrop. What is perpetual play to airdrop? Yeah, it's just play to earn is back.
Yeah, right? Pretty much.
Like, how do you do play to airdrop every single day to create a virtuous loop within your ecosystem? And now it's like, boom, like, right now you're kind of like face the first boss is just how to get people to care. Then it's like, okay, how do you get people to play the game? And then the third aspect is, okay, how do you get people, right, to spend, and how do you kind of balance the economy? That's like the third boss of Web3 gaming that hasn't 100% been figured out. But I think, like, with every game, with every team that gets that third stage, there's going to be more experiments and ways to encourage that type of behavior. The way that I think about it from like first principles, right, it's like you kind of have two user groups. Just like in mobile gaming, you have free-to-play users, and then you have whales, right? And Web3 gaming is kind of similar. You have grinders and people who are playing to earn. It can be 98% of the user base, just like free-to-play players are 98% of the user base. Then you're gonna have the whales, right? Who are the whales? Whales are like crypto-rich people that are looking to like spend because they want to be part of something larger than themselves. They want to flex, right? They want to, they might want to meet their girlfriend or their boyfriend in the community, right? So I do believe that whale behavior is still, right, like being fleshed out more, but the prerequisite for that type of behavior coming about is to have these large communities, because nobody wants to flex in a vacuum. Nobody wants to flex, right?
You need people to flex on.
You need basically many people to flex on and, right, to play these kind of monetary status games with.
Yeah, I mean, me spending $800 on a mobile game when I turned 18, like 100%. Like, if there weren't 300,000 people in my kingdom, I wouldn't have spent that much. So
yes, our theory, right, is like it's the approach is to get the hundreds of thousands of people, the millions of people, right, and then you like experiment with, right, and then that is one of the first steps, and before, right, unlocking more people who are willing to spend for status, fun, etc.
All right, I think the last question is a spicy one.
Okay.
Axie Infinity. What's going on over there? Are we killing it? Is Axie Infinity play to earn back? What's going on over there?
I mean, so Axie actually has some interesting momentum recently.
Okay.
So we deployed something called the Bounty Board, which is actually kind of taken from what we were learning from Pixels, right? Pixels has like this daily play to airdrop, right?
Yeah, the questing, right?
Yeah, with the task board,
yes.
Right? So we basically have created weekly play to airdrop with Axie, where every week you have 4 quests that you get every single day. create to a TIA, so that's just like submit some on-chain transaction. There's roll a fortune slip, which is basically rolling some scrolls that you get for owning collectible Axies, and then win one game in Classic, win one game in Origin, right? So there are 4 quests. You get points for completing each of these quests, and then right at the end of the week, based on how many points you have compared to the total pie of points, you then get some AXS rewards. And it's not like a huge amount, right? So we're giving out 10,000 AXS per week right now. That's around 70,000. We have around 50,000 people participating per week. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a decent amount. We've seen a lot of the on-chain metrics. So the daily active on-chain addresses for Axie have spiked around 250% since this started. I think it was like around like 12,000, now around 45,000 daily active addresses. Yeah, Classic DAU is up 180%. Origin is also up around 45%. So yeah, I think like Axie monthly active addresses around 100K right now.
Okay, so I guess a bonus question. So you're supercharging your users by adding this task board instead of like different types of marketing that you'd have in the traditional space.
For sure. I mean, I think that's what, let's admit that play to earn, right? And giving tokens directly to users. This is right the way of doing user acquisition in Web3. And it makes a lot of sense, right? So Web 2 paid user acquisition in mobile right now is having a lot of issues because of like the IDFA, which is basically like these new privacy rules that basically make it hard for you to target the whales if you're a mobile game developer, like buying ads. So the CPIs, or the cost per installs, are actually skyrocketing in mobile free-to-play right now. So really? A lot of them are actually looking at like, how do we get into Web3 gaming? Because it's getting really, really hard to eke out a profit or a margin to run these mobile Web 2 mobile games, right? I think it's still probably good. It's good at the top, right? Like your Supercells, your Scopely's, right? Scopely has Monopoly Go, but they're kind of like basically getting, right? They're pushing up the CPIs, and it's really, really hard for these like smaller indie studios or just smaller studios to compete with them.
So the way to compete is like just convince everyone that they can earn something for playing your game. And that makes it so much cheaper.
It's an incentive, right?
It's an incentive, yeah. I mean, that makes sense. I want to earn something for spending 300 hours. I mean, if my girlfriend's mom, well, fiance's mom, could make anything off of playing Candy Crush, it'd be great. 100% I'm for it.
You should ever check out Axie Champions, man.
Axie Champions? Okay.
Axie Champions is like the Axie Candy Crush.
And do we have task boards there as well, or?
Yeah, they actually do.
All
they
right,
actually do.
All right. Maybe
we're just check it out, Axie Champions. We also have Duet Monsters. Duet Monsters is kind of like a rhythm game. It's kind of like Guitar Heroes, but on mobile using your thumb. Okay. So you're doing some fun experiments with Axie IP recently.
And that's from the Builders program, right? That's been going on for a long time. I remember there was
so Duet Monsters is actually built by a really successful mobile gaming studio called Cadenverse. So we're also now starting to work with these more seasoned mobile game developers, when it comes to the Axie universe, as well as, of course, the games on Ronin.
I take it back. All right. Yeah, fair enough. So you're expanding your horizons. So just a bunch of successful companies. Dude, I don't want to drag it too long. I remember for Kaidro, I saw something where it was like for their comic, they went to Kickstarter and they raised, what was it, $30,000 or something like that for the first 2 issues. Then they went here, did a mint, and they raised like $3 million in 30 seconds or something like that. Something ridiculous, which I was a part of that, right? I'm the exit liquidity, obviously. So I just got to say, man, it doesn't matter what the hell the market conditions are. Like, Ronin's on the map. They're on the map no matter what it is.
I mean, we have a ton of users, right? People are also like clearly spending a lot, right? So I think that we're really well positioned for the rest of the cycle. We still have a lot of stuff to work on. We just had like a wallet release, for example, that didn't go well.
Yeah.
So kind of exposed that, we still have to get better. We still have to level up. We're like Saiyans, right? We need to get beat up once in a while, regrow our energy. Take some senzu beans. So I think that's the time. That's the vibe, right, that we're in right now. We're still growing. Luckily, we're still growing. I think momentum is building, but it's also because Web3 gaming is in a little bit of a quiet period, gives us time to upgrade ourselves, upgrade our products in preparation for the horde.
Yeah, I mean, you just remind me of soul vibes in gaming is essentially like the easiest comparison. You've got the degens, you've got the cult, you've got a fucking working chain. Breaks every now and then, but we kind of make it work. Obviously, totally different situations, but it was a pleasure to have you. I think we're going to look at this 12 months from now. It's going to be fucking exciting. Ronin, still out there, still kicking it, and still the king of crypto gaming chains for now. That's all I got to say. Thank you for joining with me, Jiho, and I'll see y'all later.
Awesome, man. Thanks for having me.
All right.